Mimo was nothing more than a weak orphan who got dragged into another world with pathetic E-ranked skills, the kind of useless character who usually dies in the background while the real heroes get the spotlight. But what nobody expected was that this same so-called loser would one day come back and destroy every single person who looked down on him. The story begins with our boy named Mimo. His life was already a complete disaster. After his father died, his mother decided to bring home a new boyfriend, and this guy turned out to be a walking piece of garbage. Most nights, the poor boy simply curled up in a corner, trying to cover his head, while the grown man unleashed his anger on him like a pathetic drunk tyrant. And his mother? She was too busy watching television to care, like ignoring her own child's screams like it was just background noise in her favorite soap opera. Growing up in that nightmare turned one morning in the school bus, the class bully Sho was already doing what he did best, being an absolute idiot. This guy had grabbed a book from a quiet girl named Aya and was waving it around like he had just discovered some ancient forbidden artifact. Aya sat there helplessly while the bully kept humiliating her. And inside his head, Mimo imagined the typical TV hero scene where the main character stands up, stops the bully, and everyone suddenly admires him. But then reality slapped him in the face because this was not a TV show. In real life, nobody on that bus gave a damn, and Mimo knew that if he stood up, his skinny body would probably get folded like a cheap chair. Yet somehow, before his brain could stop him, Mimo suddenly stood up and stared directly at Sho, telling him to leave Aya alone. For a moment, the bus went silent. Then, Sho burst out laughing. One expected Mimo to get destroyed right there. But suddenly, another voice cut through the chaos. Kiri, the most popular guy in the class, casually told Sho to give the book back. And just like that, the bully obeyed immediately, proving that Sho was only brave when picking on weaker people. He returned Aya's book and moved on to harass another unfortunate target, the nerdy kid Yasu. Meanwhile, Mimo sat back down, confused about why he had even stood up in the first place. But before he could think about it any further, something insane happened. Fortunately, the Demon King had now resurrected, which meant these students had been summoned to become the new heroes who would defeat him. The class was completely confused, some wondering if they had died, while others thought this was some elaborate prank. Even the teacher finally woke up and told everyone to stay quiet and listen to the goddess. Meanwhile, Mimo looked around at the medieval buildings, then pinched himself just to confirm that he was not dreaming. At that moment, what would happen if they refused to help? Visay calmly smiled and explained that if they refused, she would not be able to send them back to their world. Kiri then asked if returning was even possible, and the goddess revealed that there was a reverse summoning ritual that could send them home. But then Yasu stepped forward and surprisingly revealed a rare dark ability, similar to a legendary dark hero from the past who had once become the strongest warrior. After everyone finished checking their stats, Visay explained that each of them also had unique personal abilities, but without hesitation, she opened a dark pit beneath him and declared that Mimo was E-rank, the lowest rank in the entire class. Historically, E-rank individuals caused trouble, so they were usually executed immediately, but like this when he was beaten at home. But then something inside him snapped. A voice deep within his soul told him to stop pretending to be a good person and finally reveal the darkness he had been suppressing for so long. Mimo raised his head again, his eyes filled with pure hatred, and called the goddess a rotten hoe while warning her to pray that he never returned alive. The ritual activated instantly, and the next moment, he found himself inside a dark cave. So he poured some mana into the leather bag and the gem inside began glowing. As he walked deeper into the cave, he suddenly realized that he had been stepping on skeletons the entire time, which scared the hell out of him. He wondered what kind of monster could have killed so many people when suddenly one attacked him from the darkness. Mimo barely dodged and immediately started running for his life as the creature chased him relentlessly. For a moment, he wondered if he should turn around and fight, but deep down, he knew the level difference was so massive that he would die the moment he stopped. Terrified, he kept running until he tripped over a rock and crashed to the ground. When he turned around, the monster was already right in front of him, ready to kill him. In desperation, he fired his parry and blood began pouring out of it. Exhausted, Mimo collapsed onto the cave floor, wondering why his spells were so effective against these monsters. But suddenly he heard something moving behind him. Slowly he turned around and saw that the first monster, a massive minotaur demon, had broken free from the paralyzed spell and was ready to crush him. This time, Mimo did not run. All the hatred he had for everyone, even though his mana was almost completely gone, he raised his arms again. From that moment on, he decided that if he wanted to live, he would have to kill. As monsters began surrounding him from every direction, his body entered full fight-or-flight mode, desperately searching for any way to survive. Then a crazy thought crossed his mind. In the games he used to play, using a skill without mana usually resulted in only one thing: instant death. With monsters surrounding him from every direction, Mimo quickly realized he had zero choices left. If he did nothing, he was dead anyway, so he decided to gamble with the only thing he had left: his skills. He turned toward one of the approaching monsters and fired his paralyze spell, but this time the spell completely failed and the monster immediately lunged at him like it had been personally offended by his existence. Mimo desperately tried to dodge and step back while his brain worked overtime, realizing that spamming the same spell on the same monster wasn't going to save his life. Right when the beast was about to flatten him into the dungeon floor like a bug, a notification appeared in his mind showing that he had unlocked a brand new spell called Sleep. With no time to think, Mimo fired the sleep spell at the monster, and to his surprise, the creature instantly stopped moving and collapsed to the ground like someone had unplugged its brain. He quickly added a poison spell on top of it, but using skills without mana was draining his health badly, and he could literally feel his body getting weaker. Before he could even catch his breath, his worst nightmare showed up when a massive horde of monsters started charging toward him from deeper inside the dungeon. Mimo stared at them and wondered if his remaining health was even enough to survive this many enemies. Thinking fast, he flashed the glowing gem from his magical bag like a flashbang, which temporarily blinded the monsters, and while they were confused, he began firing paralyzed spells one after another, freezing the entire group in place. He briefly thought about poisoning all of them too, but quickly realized that doing that with no mana would probably kill him before the monsters died. Just when he thought things could not get worse, even more monsters crawled out from the deeper tunnels, overwhelming his senses with their disgusting roars and footsteps. Instead of panicking, Mimo decided he would rather die fighting than begging for mercy, so he continued paralyzing any monster that came within range. His body started feeling extremely heavy and dizziness hit him hard, but somehow he managed to stay standing. Then suddenly the impossible happened. He leveled up. Instantly his mana refilled and his stats improved, giving him enough power to keep casting spells and hold the monsters back. After a second of thinking, he realized why he had leveled up. The bird monster he poisoned earlier had finally died. That single realization sparked a dangerous idea inside his mind. If poisoned monsters dying gave him experience, then this dungeon was basically a giant leveling machine. With that thought, he began paralyzing every monster in sight, determined to gain as many levels as possible while surviving the chaos. Soon he discovered a new skill that allowed him to target multiple enemies at once, making his job even easier as entire groups froze together like creepy statues. While casually walking between them, he wondered why his paralyzed spell had failed on the goddess earlier, when it had a perfect success rate in the dungeon. As they slowly died, he kept gaining levels until he finally sat down on a rock with a small smile, realizing he had basically created a real-life Minecraft XP farm. Curious about improving his other skills, he started casting sleep on the monsters as well, just to level the spell up, and when more enemies died, he gained even more experience until his level shot up to 500 in just minutes. With that insane growth, he became confident that escaping the dungeon was possible, but he still kept his guard up because many monsters were still alive. As he stood up and looked toward the remaining creatures, something unexpected happened. The monsters suddenly turned around and ran away from him like he was the boss monster now. Taking advantage of the moment, Mimo searched the skeletons of dead adventurers scattered around the dungeon and scavenged whatever equipment he could find. After that, he continued deeper into the cave but soon realized that he had not eaten anything in a long time, and his stomach was starting to complain. He had no idea where to find food until he remembered the monsters he had killed earlier. So he went back to the massacre site and found a monster whose poison had already worn off. He pulled out his sword and tried cutting meat from it, but the monster's skin was so tough that the blade barely scratched it. Feeling discouraged, he wondered if he would end up starving to death even after surviving all these monsters. Just then, he noticed the gem on his bag glowing strangely purple. Curious, he opened the bag and nearly cried when he saw jerky and a bottle of Coke inside. With tears in his eyes, he gulped down the drink so quickly he almost choked, then happily started chewing the jerky while wondering what kind of magical bag this was and whether it would keep producing food. 2 days passed inside the dungeon, and by that time, Mimo had become so strong that he could casually wipe out massive hordes of monsters while sitting on a rock and spamming spells, thanks to his nearly infinite mana. Looking around at the mountains of corpses, he quietly wondered what he had done so wrong in life to be treated this way. Memories of his childhood surfaced, reminding him how he once dreamed of killing his mother's boyfriend because he believed that if he didn't kill the man first, the man would eventually kill him. Thankfully, his life changed when his aunt and uncle rescued him from that nightmare and raised him properly, which made him decide to become a good person who treated others kindly. But staring at the destruction around him now, he realized he felt no sadness for the monsters he had slaughtered. That thought made him understand something terrifying about himself. Maybe he had always been a monster. Accepting that truth, he continued leveling up until he reached level 950. Soon, he ventured deeper into the dungeon and encountered a floating eye monster, which he instantly killed using his favorite paralyze and poison combo. Moving forward, he found a small room where 2 adventurers had died, so he checked their belongings and discovered a bag full of gems which he happily took. Not far ahead, he entered a massive chamber where another skeleton lay on the ground. Examining the body, he noticed a fatal wound and discovered a parchment beside it. Reading the note shocked him because the skeleton belonged to the legendary dark hero that Visay had mentioned earlier. In the letter, the dark hero explained that the goddess Visay had sent him into this dungeon after she no longer needed him, warning anyone who found the message to never trust that evil goddess. Mimo crushed the parchment in anger, realizing that the Demon King was not the only villain in this world, and that the goddess herself was just as rotten. Inside the hero's bag, he found a massive magic book filled with dark spell techniques and item crafting knowledge. There was also another scroll he couldn't read, so he stored it along with the dead hero's clothes. While flipping through the book, he noticed a bloodstained note mentioning that something called the Soul Eater had killed everyone. Thanking the fallen hero quietly, Mimo continued exploring the dungeon corridors until he reached a massive locked door. It looked like it required some kind of special item to open, so he checked his stats and noticed that he had already reached level 1200. Still, he wondered whether even that power would be enough to defeat the Soul Eater waiting beyond the hallway. As soon as he stepped forward, a powerful beam shot out and grazed his hand, forcing him to quickly bandage the wound. Realizing that the creature capable of killing the Dark Hero must be insanely dangerous, he concluded that the Soul Eater was probably the final boss of the dungeon and the key to escaping. Suddenly, the monster appeared and vomited a disgusting pile of goo that transformed into half-dead humans which began shambling toward him. Mimo paralyzed them instantly but refused to use poison because they still looked like humans. Meanwhile, the Soul Eater smashed through the wall and began screaming loudly, causing intense mental pressure that forced Mimo to retreat. The monster vomited more half-dead humans until they cornered him completely, pushing him against the wall while he pretended to panic and even started crying for someone to save him. The Soul Eater seemed entertained by his misery and began laughing. Unfortunately for the monster, that was exactly what Mimo wanted. The moment the creature relaxed its guard, he fired Paralyze directly at it, and the Soul Eater collapsed instantly with a shocked expression. Mimo burst out laughing and proudly declared that he had tricked the demon with his acting skills because lowering its defenses was the only way to land the spell. He then calmly explained that his entire life he had pretended to be a good person who would never hurt anyone, but now his real self had finally come out. He no longer cared whether the enemies were monsters, half-dead humans, or even real humans. In a kill or be killed world, anything trying to harm him would die. The Soul Eater's giant eye started bleeding, while Mimo casually walked forward and cast sleep on every creature nearby, finishing them without hesitation. After some time, the Soul Eater finally died, and countless glowing souls escaped its body, forming ghostly human shapes that thanked Mimo for freeing them because they had been trapped inside the demon while it devoured more victims. Among them, the Dark Hero appeared one last time and simply told Mimo to deal with the evil goddess before fading away. Mimo collected the gem left behind by the Soul Eater and walked back to the giant door, inserting the gem into the slot which finally opened the gate. As he stepped outside, he quietly wondered what he would do to that bitch goddess when he finally got his revenge. Meanwhile, far away in the forest near the royal capital, Mimo's former classmates were busy hunting monsters to level up. Sho chased a demon dog with his sword like an overexcited idiot, while Kiri casually incinerated another monster and reached level 18 with ease. In another area, the nerd Yasu had completely changed personality, laughing maniacally while burning monsters alive with dark flames. Not everyone was enjoying this, however, because a timid girl named Koba hesitated to kill any creature until a bully named Asagi forced her to do it. Asagi explained that this hunt was the first test from the goddess, and anyone who refused to kill monsters would be thrown away just like Mimo. Being a B rank, Asagi planned to build her own faction with loyal girls, explaining that the class would soon split into groups because too many selfish people were present. She also told Koba that since she was only D rank, powerful groups like Kiri's would never accept her, and even Aya wouldn't be able to save her. Terrified, Koba listened as Asagi revealed that she had already trapped a monster for her to kill. Crying and shaking, Koba eventually killed the creature but immediately broke down in tears, remembering how Mimo once helped an injured stray kitten and regretting that she had not defended him. At the same time, Aya regained consciousness and remembered how the goddess had knocked her out before sending Mimo away. Furious, she confronted the goddess who performed a cheap acting routine claiming she had also felt terrible about sending him away, but it was simply kingdom policy. She then casually revealed that while Aya was unconscious, she had already banished other weak students who failed to kill monsters. Aya angrily declared that the goddess's methods were wrong, but the goddess laughed and said everyone could have their own opinions, but that didn't mean she would change anything. Aya then proposed that as an S-rank hero, she would work harder to cover for weaker students if the goddess promised not to banish them anymore. Visay happily agreed and asked Aya to shake hands so they could start fresh. Far away near the abandoned ruins, a mysterious woman ran through the forest while a group of bandits chased her. The bandits noticed she kept leaving obvious tracks and decided to let her run because eventually they would corner their prey. At that same moment, Mimo finally emerged from the ruins. Before leaving, he checked his stats and saw that his mana had reached over 59,000. But he was more interested in testing the upgraded features of his abilities. He discovered he could now paralyze specific body parts instead of entire targets and could even weaken his poison to make it non-lethal. While walking through the forest, he suddenly heard squeaking sounds behind some trees and discovered several slimes bullying a smaller slime. Feeling a little sympathy, he watched as the tiny slime surprisingly fought back against its bullies. Deciding this was the perfect opportunity to test his new skills, Mimo paralyzed all the slimes and used non-lethal poison on the bully slimes before removing the spells and scaring them away, leaving the small slime safe. After the earlier mess with the bullies, Mimo looked down at the tiny slime and basically told the little blob it had done a surprisingly decent job defending itself. Considering it was a slime, and not exactly the final boss of anything, that was already impressive. He explained that he would remove the paralyzed skill, but warned the slime not to try anything stupid like attacking him. Once the spell was lifted, Mimo casually walked away, expecting the creature to mind its own business. Instead, the slime started following him like a lost puppy, except squishier and with 0 brain cells. Mimo figured the slime was probably another outcast like him, so he sighed and decided to adopt the poor little blob. He stuffed it inside his hood so it could watch his back like a tiny gelatin security camera and warn him if anything tried to jump him. While walking through the forest, Mimo began reading the forbidden arts book written by the so-called Dark Hero. Inside, he discovered a recipe for a strengthening medicine that could boost even a pathetic slime. Mimo then casually informed the slime that he was currently on a revenge journey against the people who ruined his life. Basically the anime equivalent of saying, "Welcome to my villain arc." He asked if the slime still wanted to follow him despite that little detail. The slime enthusiastically agreed, because apparently survival instincts were optional for it. Their wholesome moment didn't last long though, because suddenly Mimo found himself surrounded by bandits who had been chasing a mysterious girl through the forest. Their genius strategy was to exhaust her until she collapsed, but along the way they sensed another presence and decided to take a detour for some easy robbery. The bandit leader stepped forward and demanded Mimo hand over everything valuable if he wanted to keep breathing. Mimo was honestly terrified at first. These guys looked like the kind of people who brushed their teeth with knives and had never skipped leg day. He had fought monsters before, but never humans. The bandits started arguing among themselves about whether they should hurry after the girl or waste time killing this random nobody. While they bickered like idiots, Mimo tried sneaking away quietly. Unfortunately, the leader noticed and immediately told him to stop. Mimo dropped to full panic mode and begged for his life, which only made the bandit leader more excited to kill him because apparently being a psychopath was his entire personality. The guy rushed forward, only to realize Mimo had been acting the whole time. Mimo instantly used his paralyzed skill, freezing the leader in place like a broken statue. Then he calmly roasted the entire group, explaining that even though they were weaker than the monsters in the ruins, their rotten intentions were far worse. Even Pigamaru looked pissed, which was impressive considering it was basically living jelly. Mimo declared that killing trash like them wouldn't bother his conscience at all. In fact, the world would probably be a slightly cleaner place afterward, so he casually cast a poison spell on all of them, and the bandits collapsed like a bunch of expired vegetables. After they died, Mimo sensed another presence nearby. It turned out to be the mysterious girl the bandits were chasing. She had summoned spiritual armor using a technique from her tribe to protect herself. She could also sense Mimo and immediately realized someone ridiculously powerful was nearby, though the vibe she felt from him was confusing to say the least. Not wanting to risk anything, she swung her sword through a nearby bush where Pigamaru happened to be hiding. Right at that moment, Mimo appeared behind her and paralyzed her instantly. The girl nervously asked what he wanted, and he calmly explained that he only needed information since he was new to the area and knew absolutely nothing. Mimo removed the paralysis only from her head so she could talk, but warned her not to try anything stupid unless she wanted to die. Standing in front of her, he explained that for many reasons, he trusted absolutely nobody, especially strangers he had just met. Before he could start questioning her, she asked what happened to the bandits. Mimo casually said he killed them all. The girl nearly short-circuited hearing that because those thugs were apparently known for being quite strong. She asked if he had help fighting them, but Mimo refused to reveal anything. Still, she believed he wasn't a bad person and decided to trust him. promising to answer his questions honestly. Mimo started trusting her a tiny bit as well, though not enough to remove the paralysis completely. During their conversation, he learned that he was currently not in the Alian Kingdom anymore, but inside the forest territory of the southern Urza Kingdom. After learning several useful things, he finally asked whether she could read the forbidden spell scroll. She explained that the text used an extremely rare ancient script that almost nobody could read. However, she knew someone who could. She told him about a person called the Forbidden Witch, a woman exiled from her homeland because her knowledge of magic was considered dangerously excessive. If Mimo wanted to meet her, he would have to travel to the Golden Demon Zone located in the middle of the continent, which was basically a giant danger sign disguised as a location. Mimo thanked the girl for the information, and she thanked him for saving her from the bandits. He replied that the information balanced things out. The girl wished him good luck, and Mimo couldn't help thinking she was way too honest and innocent for her own survival, reminding him of his aunt. Before leaving, he told her the paralysis would fade in a few minutes and she could leave safely afterward. Pigamaru hopped onto Mimo's shoulder as they walked away, the two briefly discussing whether the girl might attack them once she was free. Mimo doubted it, but still asked Pigamaru to watch his back just in case. Soon they reached a small town called Mills, where the female knight guarding the gate turned out to be extremely nosy about his business. She assumed he was some countryside nobody who came to work as a mercenary and raid the nearby ruins. Still, she allowed him inside because the town lord had ordered that all mercenaries should be welcomed, especially those planning to explore the ruins. Mimo thanked her and entered, quietly noticing that the town security was hilariously lazy since nobody checked his luggage or identity. He found an inn where a grumpy old man greeted him like he had just stepped on his lawn. The moment Mimo showed a silver coin, though, the old man instantly transformed into the most polite employee in existence. When asked for his name, Mimo used the fake identity Hattie. Later that night, he walked around town and noticed how peaceful everything seemed, despite the huge number of outsiders and mercenaries around. After gathering enough information, he returned to the inn, ate dinner, and pretended the food was delicious even though it tasted like disappointment. While eating, he secretly listened to a group of drunk men nearby discussing the strongest knight orders on the continent. One of them bragged about the holy knights serving the insane Emperor Falcon who had never lost a war. Others praised different famous orders, insisting their own Urza Kingdom's magic knights were just as strong. But everyone agreed that the most terrifying group was the Black Dragon Knights, who had destroyed the Holy Kingdom of Nia in record time, and even had the world's strongest hero killer among them. After hearing enough drunken history lessons, Mimo left and brought some food for Pigamaru. While the slime happily ate rice, Mimo started planning his next steps. First, he needed someone capable of reading the Forbidden Magic Scroll, meaning he eventually had to find the Forbidden Witch in the Golden Demon Zone. Before that, though, he wanted to create the Strengthening Agent to make Pigamaru stronger. Suddenly, he remembered the drunk men mentioning a newly discovered lair inside the nearby ruins that had attracted mercenaries from everywhere. The town was thriving because of it. Mimo realized that the ruins might contain the bones of the Skeleton King, a crucial ingredient for the strengthening medicine. So, the next morning, he joined the crowd of mercenaries preparing to raid the ruins. They were greeted by Marcus Creed, the regional lord, who announced that a new area had been discovered inside the Mills ruins. He offered a reward of 300 gold coins to anyone who discovered the ultimate treasure known as the Cup of the Dragon's Eye. He also promised to buy any dungeon loot at high prices, while allowing mercenaries to keep monster drops. As registration began, Mimo noticed a particularly obnoxious noble named Flash harassing a hooded girl. The girl asked what he wanted, and Flash commented that her voice sounded suspiciously similar to the leader of the Holy Knight Army from the destroyed kingdom of Nia. His loud comment instantly sparked gossip among the mercenaries, who began wondering if the infamous Night Princess of Nia with a huge bounty might actually be here. Flash continued aggressively flirting with the woman, even making disgusting comments about her chest while comparing her to an elf princess who once rejected him. The girl insisted he had the wrong person, so Flash demanded she remove her hood to prove she wasn't an elf. When he ripped the hood off, though, her ears were perfectly human. Flash looked completely stunned. Mimo recognized the girl immediately as the same one from the forest, but didn't interfere, mostly because she handled the clown herself and scared him away in humiliation. Later, Mimo went to buy equipment and crossed paths with the hooded girl again. She recognized him and approached to talk about the ruin raid. Mimo warned her that humiliating idiots like Flash could lead to revenge later, but she shrugged it off and explained she intentionally acted rude so people would leave her alone. Mimo then asked for her help choosing proper equipment since he didn't want shopkeepers ripping him off. He promised payment, and she eagerly accepted because she needed money. She introduced herself as Mist, which Mimo instantly realized was fake. He introduced himself as Hattie and admitted he was also using a fake name due to certain circumstances. Mist helped him pick good gear, and he paid her 3 silver coins, which was more than she expected. She thanked him and began leaving, but suddenly collapsed from exhaustion. Mimo noticed the dark circles under her eyes while supporting her, but she insisted she just needed rest and hurried away. The following day, Mimo entered the mill's ruins and immediately saw several mercenaries running away from a demon calf, the baby version of the minotaurs he had fought earlier. He casually paralyzed and poisoned the creature before finishing it with a single stab from his short sword. Meanwhile, the fleeing mercenaries returned with reinforcements, only to find the monster already dead, leaving them completely baffled about who killed it. Unbothered by their confusion, Mimo continued deeper into the ruins where the monsters were barely even a challenge. While exploring, he overheard the noble idiot Flash asking 2 rough mercenaries to help him kill Mist because he couldn't tolerate being humiliated. His brilliant plan involved torturing her before feeding her to demons. Disgusted by this pathetic garbage, Mimo stepped out of hiding. Flash and his hired goons prepared to attack, but Mimo tested them first by apologizing and pretending he would keep their conversation secret. Of course, Flash had no intention of letting him live. The moment Flash attacked, Mimo paralyzed him and his companions, then calmly poisoned them while they were frozen. Strangely enough, eliminating trash like them felt refreshing. As Mimo walked away, Flash screamed threats of revenge, but Mimo didn't bother finishing them off since several powerful demons were already heading their way. The demons happily devoured the paralyzed idiots while Mimo continued deeper. Eventually, he stopped to take a quick nap before exploring lower floors while Pigamaru kept watch. After resting, he pushed further into the ruins, leaving a trail of dead monsters behind him. This trail eventually attracted the attention of an experienced adventurer party called Saber-Toothed. Their leader Lily and vice leader Foe explained they couldn't even determine what had killed the monsters scattered around, which made them suspect a terrifying enemy was nearby. For safety, they planned to retreat to the surface and simply asked if Mimo wanted to join them. He thanked them for the concern but declined and continued deeper. In fact, he believed that killing even more monsters and leaving their bodies around would scare other mercenaries away from the ruins, giving him a much better chance of finding what he came for. Deep inside the ruins, Mimo finally reached the chamber where the legendary Dragon Eye Cup rested on a pedestal like the final prize in a very dangerous game show. Behind the cup stood a suspicious dragon statue, and thanks to watching enough anime cliches, Mimo immediately knew the deal. Touch the treasure and the statue wakes up like an unpaid security guard. Instead of falling for that obvious trap, he calmly paralyzed the statue first and then poisoned it for good measure. Only after the poor thing was already dying did he grab the cup, basically cheating the boss fight before it even started. As he turned around, he suddenly saw Mist standing there looking shocked. She couldn't believe someone had beaten her to the treasure room. She complained that sleeping a few hours had cost her the grand prize, but then Mimo casually handed the cup to her like it was a cheap souvenir. Mist nearly had a brain crash. She asked what the hell she was supposed to pay for something worth 300 gold coins, but Mimo explained that the persona he was currently acting as was extremely naive and weak against pretty girls. Mist refused to accept such an expensive item for free because it would damage her honor, but Mimo kept insisting he didn't care about the cup or the reward money. Instead, he started examining the platform and discovered a hidden mechanism that opened a secret passage leading deeper into the dungeon. He told her that the thing he truly wanted was somewhere below, and he had only joined the mercenary recruitment to reach this floor. Hearing that, Mist suddenly offered to accompany him as his bodyguard to repay the debt. She insisted she would be useful. After thinking for a moment, Mimo agreed but set 2 conditions. First, she would not dig into his personal business, and second, he could not promise they would return from the ruins anytime soon. Mist immediately accepted and even swore to protect him with her life, which honestly sounded way too dramatic for someone who met him yesterday. As they moved deeper, they encountered a creepy plant monster with golden eyes. Mist sliced it apart effortlessly with her sword skills like she was cutting vegetables. Mimo applauded and asked about those golden-eyed monsters. Mist explained that golden-eyed demons were rumored to contain huge amounts of experience points, making them perfect targets for heroes summoned from another world to level up quickly. She also mentioned that those heroes couldn't gain experience by killing humans, so they had to keep farming demons like it was an RPG grind session. According to legends, the Demon King released a strange magical element that mutated normal creatures into these golden-eyed variants, making them stronger and more violent. Hearing this made Mimo think about Kiri, the so-called golden hero. and a creepy suspicion started forming in his mind that the hero's power might be connected to all this nonsense. Eventually, they reached a resting area. Mist said she sensed a monster nearby, but Mimo realized the presence was actually Pigamaru. He pulled the slime out and introduced it to her. Somehow, the slime and Mist became instant friends, like they had known each other for years. Seeing how exhausted she looked, Mimo told her to take a nap because the dark circles under her eyes were screaming for help. She reluctantly agreed and lay down on the bed. At that moment, Pigamaru started dancing in front of her like a dumb jelly cheerleader, distracting her just long enough for Mimo to secretly use his sleep skill on her. Once she passed out, something unexpected happened. Her body glowed and her appearance changed, revealing her real form as an elf. Mimo wasn't even that surprised because he had suspected it earlier, but now he confirmed that Mist was actually Ceres, the Princess Knight of the fallen Holy Kingdom of Nia. Meanwhile, far away in the forest where Mimo had slaughtered the bandits earlier, the leader of the Black Dragon Knights inspected the bodies. He assumed Mist had killed the bandits herself and actually looked forward to fighting her someday, clearly another battle-hungry lunatic. The next morning, Mist woke up and her transformation magic automatically activated again. She panicked, thinking Mimo might have discovered her secret, but relaxed when she saw him apparently sleeping on the floor like a tired potato. Pigamaru squeaked beside her, which was Mimo's signal to stop pretending to sleep. They continued exploring the dungeon together until the entire floor suddenly began shaking like an earthquake was happening. They tried to run, but a massive monster smashed through the wall beside them. Mist recognized it immediately as the Skeleton King. Mimo could tell it was the dungeon boss because its power level was way beyond the monsters they had seen so far. Mist explained that the strange bone under its chin was the weak point, and breaking it would defeat the monster. She admitted that normal mercenaries would be wiped out instantly, but the two of them together might stand a chance. The Skeleton King seemed to view Mist as the bigger threat and mostly ignored Mimo, which honestly worked perfectly for him. Mist began activating her power and told Mimo she needed to reveal her ability to defeat the boss, but asked him to keep it secret from the world. As a special armor appeared around her body, the Skeleton King started charging a deadly energy blast. Mist warned Mimo that if she failed, he should run immediately. Instead of running, Mimo casually paralyzed the giant skeleton before she could even attack. Mist looked confused, but when he followed up with his poison spell, she suddenly realized he was the mysterious man she had encountered earlier in the forest. Within moments, the Skeleton King collapsed and died from the poison. Mimo calmly collected the bones he needed to craft the strengthening potion. Seeing the 100 questions forming in Mist's head, he promised to explain everything once they reached the surface. As they walked away, Pigamaru suddenly alerted him to something inside the Skeleton King's corpse. Curious, Mimo searched the ribcage and found a small bundle hidden inside the chest cavity. When he touched it, a strange, glowing symbol appeared. Opening the bundle revealed a mysterious egg. Pigamaru immediately showed intense interest in it, so Mimo decided to carry it along. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Mimo's classmates were struggling inside their own dungeon, like a group of clueless amateurs. Skeleton Knights chased them around, while one girl sat crying over her severed arm. Aya stepped forward to protect the group, but before she could fight, Sho and Kiri jumped in and wiped out the skeletons instantly. Kiri used a massive attack without caring about his classmates' safety, forcing Aya to shield them. The idiot then proudly announced he had reached level 24, flexing like he had just saved the universe. Back in the dungeon city, Mimo and Mist returned to the surface. Mist presented the Dragon Eye Cup to the guards, drawing everyone's attention to the legendary treasure. While the crowd lost their minds over it, Mimo quietly slipped away. Mist followed him and explained she would receive the reward from the local lord during a ceremony the next day. Mimo asked if she was free until then and invited her to visit his room that night to discuss something important. She agreed and even grabbed his hand to thank him again for giving her the cup. That night, Mimo was busy creating the strengthening medicine when Mist knocked on his door. He told her he wanted to hire her as his escort for the rest of his journey. Even though she would soon receive a huge reward, he still wanted her as a bodyguard. In reality, he was subtly making her feel indebted to him by mentioning the cup. He then showed her a map and explained that his goal was to reach the Golden Demon Zone in the center of the continent to meet the Forbidden Witch. Since the area was filled with powerful monsters, he needed someone skilled by his side, and she was the only person he could trust. Mist looked uncertain about traveling to such a dangerous place, so Mimo told her to think about it. Then he suddenly called her by her real name, Ceres. She answered instinctively before realizing she had been tricked. Mimo apologized but admitted he had put her to sleep earlier and discovered her secret. He promised he would never expose her because she was too valuable as an ally. Now that the secret was already out, there was no need to keep hiding it. Mist admitted that she used spirits to maintain her human disguise, but the spirits needed her to sleep to recover, which caused her true elf form to appear. Trusting him now, she revealed her real appearance again. In response, Mimo told her his real name so they were even. She agreed to join his journey as his escort. As payment, he handed her a blue crystal he had found earlier. Mist nearly fainted seeing it because it was actually a rare blue dragon stone, no longer available on the market. A single piece was worth more than the reward from the cup. She refused to accept something so valuable and tried giving it back. But Mimo tossed it back to her and told her it was hers now, even if she decided to throw it away. She reluctantly accepted it and began explaining the enemies chasing her, but Mimo cut her off, saying he didn't care about her past. As her employer, he only cared about her combat ability. The next morning, they had breakfast together at the inn, while other guests whispered nasty rumors about them. Mimo told her to ignore the idiots and asked what she knew about forbidden spells. Mist explained that the goddess Visai had banned certain ancient spells and labeled them forbidden. Mimo quietly thought that if the goddess banned them, those spells might be dangerous for her specifically. He thanked Mist for the information, which made her blush because it was the first time he openly thanked her. After that, she left to collect her reward while Mimo went to the forest to test the strengthening medicine on Pijamaru. At the same time, Mist found herself trapped at a fancy party full of nobles and rich snobs. Hours passed, but she still hadn't received the promised reward. Suddenly, the Lord introduced a famous magician capable of breaking illusions as entertainment for the guests. Mist immediately realized that if the spell exposed her disguise, she would be finished. Meanwhile, Mimo noticed how late it was and started suspecting something was wrong. Elsewhere, Aya visited Goddess Visai to ask for treatment for the girl who lost her arm. The goddess casually revealed she only healed the girl because she was a B-rank hero. She then tried manipulating Aya into joining Kiri's group by claiming it was selfish for an S-rank hero to refuse another S-rank ally. Aya refused firmly, saying she couldn't work with Kiri right now, but would still fulfill her duty as an S-rank hero. Hearing this, the goddess declared she would personally train the students who failed the first trial. Aya panicked and reminded her of their earlier deal that those students would be left alone if she fought on their behalf. Visai coldly replied that the king had ordered it, and if Aya didn't take those useless students with her, they would simply be disposed of. Aya had no choice but to accept the order. Back in the city, Mimo concluded that either Mist betrayed him and ran away with the reward money, or something bad had happened to her. The betrayal option seemed unlikely, so he went looking for her. On the way, he overheard people gossiping that the girl who claimed the Dragon Eye Cup had been exposed as the wanted elf princess. They said she had fled into the forest after her identity was discovered, but escape was impossible because the Black Dragon Knights were already hunting her. Right at that moment, 3 dragons appeared in the sky and flew toward the forest where Mist was desperately trying to run for her life. Mist was already exhausted when one of the Dragon Knights attacked her from the air. She responded quickly, using spirit magic to launch an aerial slash that knocked the first idiot down like a bird that forgot how wings work. The second and third knights rushed in, but she enchanted her sword and cut through them as well. Just when she thought she could breathe for a second, a spear came flying toward her. She blocked it, barely holding her ground while a dragon charged at her. At first, it looked like a direct attack, but Mist realized the dragon was just a distraction. The real enemy stepped forward, a high-ranking knight named Gizun. The guy announced with way too much confidence that she would die right there. Mist struggled because she couldn't fully activate her spirit armor after the illusion-breaking spell earlier, and Gizun kept pushing her back while bragging that someone had ordered him to kill her on sight instead of capturing her alive. Of course, the psycho added that he planned to have some fun with her first, because apparently basic human decency never reached these idiots. Right before things went completely wrong, Mimo showed up and paralyzed both Gizun and his dragon instantly. Mist scrambled away from the situation while Mimo calmly applied a non-lethal poison on the knight and put him to sleep. She asked what the hell he was doing there, and Mimo casually reminded her that private conversations shouldn't happen when enemies were still around. He explained that he had come back to pick her up. Mist said she couldn't accept his job offer anymore because anyone traveling with her would be hunted by the Dragon Knights. She even tried returning the blue dragon stone. That annoyed Mimo so much that he threw an entire pouch filled with dragon stones back at her. Mist stood there confused as hell, while he bluntly said he couldn't find a better escort than her and didn't feel like wasting time looking for another one. Then, he suddenly told her to take off her clothes. Mist stared at him, wondering if she had heard that right, while Mimo looked at her like she had negative IQ. He explained that people recognized her because of her outfit and she needed different clothes if she wanted to stop screaming "Elf Princess Wanted" poster everywhere she went. After that, he reminded her they still needed to find the Witch of the Woods because he wanted answers about forbidden spells, and the witch might also help her hide her identity better. With that said, he walked over to Gizun and removed the sleep spell, demanding to know who had ordered him to kill Mist. Gizun looked up expecting to die, but Mimo promised he would remove the poison if the truth came out. The knight decided to talk because he wanted to see the princess's reaction. Unfortunately, he never got the chance. Mimo suddenly sensed danger and dragged Mist aside just as a massive sword smashed down and crushed Gizun's head like a watermelon. 3 dragon riders landed nearby, led by a young man with silver hair and glowing red eyes. He introduced himself as Civet, the leader of the strongest unit among humanity, the 5 dragon riders. Apparently, Gizun used to be part of their group but talked too much, which was why his skull had just been converted into soup. The rest of the riders were a circus. One had a ridiculous Karen haircut and the other looked like a pirate who lost his ship and decided to cosplay instead. The pirate idiot suggested they should toss Mist around like a ball before killing her since the king had ordered her execution on sight. Karen haircut immediately snapped back, saying the king wanted her corpse to stay beautiful, which was somehow even creepier. Mist listened to this garbage with horror before grabbing her sword and declaring she wouldn't die easily. None of them took her seriously. Civet said he might allow her to duel him and live if she won, but his attention shifted to Mimo instead, because the quiet stranger standing there looked far more interesting. Mimo immediately realized his life was hanging by a thread, because Civet's power felt hundreds of times stronger than the Soul Eater he barely survived earlier. Still, he smiled like a lunatic and asked if they could talk. Civet asked his name and Mimo gave the fake one. Somehow that made Civet even more curious. The pirate asked why he cared about the kid, and Civet pointed out that the boy wasn't trembling in front of the dragon riders and even wanted to chat with the strongest man alive. Mimo knew he needed to play this carefully if he wanted to survive. He asked Civet if he simply lived to fight the strongest enemies he could find. Civet admitted that was basically his entire personality, but complained that very few opponents could actually challenge him. Mimo casually suggested he fight the goddess Visai. Civet admitted she was powerful, but their kingdoms had a peace treaty. However, he would love to fight the heroes she summoned from another world someday. Hearing that, Mimo smiled slightly while Civet lost interest in Mist and told her to drop her sword and accept death because she was too weak to entertain him. Mist obviously refused, which annoyed the white-haired man. That was when Mimo sweetened the situation. He suggested that if Civet wanted a real fight, he should choose him instead because he was actually a hero from another world. Everyone froze after hearing that, including Mist, who had absolutely no idea. Civet burst into laughter, saying he already suspected something unusual about him. He asked why a hero was wandering around the forest instead of staying in his kingdom. Knowing lies would be obvious, Mimo told the truth in a twisted way. He explained that the goddess considered him a different class of hero and separated him from the others. It was technically true, but Civet interpreted it as proof that Mimo must be incredibly powerful. Curious now, Civet asked what Mimo wanted. Mimo said he wanted to postpone their fight. Civet laughed and asked what he would gain from that deal. Mimo promised that he would train until he surpassed everyone, even the goddess, and then return for a real death match. Civet laughed like a complete psycho but loved the idea. He said Mimo could leave, and the dragon riders would depart after finishing the elf princess. Mimo's expression changed immediately. He said that wouldn't work because he needed Mist alive to help him get stronger. Civet laughed again and surprisingly allowed it because the idea of a future battle excited him too much. Karen Haircut tried to protest, but Civet shut him up instantly and ordered everyone to leave. As they flew away, Civet shouted that Mimo better grow stronger before his patience ran out. Mimo smiled politely and waited until the riders flew into the exact range he needed. Then he activated Paralyze. Instantly, every dragon and rider froze midair and crashed to the ground like a rainstorm of idiots. Mimo laughed openly and explained that this wasn't some noble hero story where people honor their promises. This was his revenge story, and he would win however he wanted. Civet struggled on the ground, demanding to know what he had done. Mimo ignored him and cast poison on all of them. Most died immediately, but Civet kept moving despite the poison, reminding Mimo of the Soul Eater monster. Civet even tried to throw his lance but collapsed from exhaustion. Soon, an alarm sounded and dozens of dragon riders arrived as backup. Civet desperately ordered them to kill Mimo and Mist. Mimo told Mist she could escape while there was still time, but she refused because she had promised to act as his bodyguard. Mimo smiled and used a new ability to link with Pijimaru. The slime burst from his back and extended massive tentacles into the sky, increasing Mimo's spell range. Within seconds, he paralyzed the flying riders, and dragons started falling from the sky like the world's most violent rainstorm. Instead of killing them instantly, he experimented with different spells. He used Berserk on Karen Haircut, who started screaming like a lunatic demanding a manager. Then he cast Darkness on the pirate idiot, leaving him completely blind and panicking. After finishing his little magic experiments, Mimo left them to die and paralyzed them again, just in case. Eventually, he realized everyone had died except Sevet, who somehow kept breathing. Even that monster finally collapsed moments later. With the battlefield silent, Mimo and Mist disappeared into the forest. Mist warned that the Black Dragon Knight known as the Hero Killer might still be hunting her, but Mimo casually remembered killing someone like that earlier. That revelation left Mist completely stunned as she wondered what kind of monster she had chosen as an ally. She swore loyalty to him and promised to stay by his side through any trouble, while Mimo promised to repay her loyalty properly. After several days, they reached a lively town filled with market chatter, laughter, and children running around at night. While wandering the shops, Mimo became interested in a strange mask. The shopkeeper explained it was a replica of the Fly King, an ancient demon king who once defended demonkind against a massive army and saved them from extinction. Despite that heroic act, politicians later banished him, calling him the root of all evil, and he vanished forever. Mimo bought the mask and later tried it on in his tent, realizing his story felt strangely similar. The difference was that unlike the Fly King, he would absolutely get revenge on the goddess someday. The next morning, he explored the city with Mist, who believed their enemies wouldn't expect them to hide in plain sight. Mimo remained cautious anyway and constantly checked their surroundings. Soon, he noticed a massive old building. Mist explained it was the Colosseum where slaves, mercenaries, and beasts fought for money, glory, or freedom. Mimo immediately compared it to the Roman arenas from his world. Mist said the kingdom of Usa controlled the region, and that the Colosseum had become a chaotic freak show nowadays. Mimo wasn't interested in that nonsense and dragged her toward a fancy inn instead. Mist complained about wasting money and suggested they just share one room. Mimo turned around wondering if she was joking, but she casually said she had no problem sleeping together, proving once again that this girl had zero embarrassment settings. That evening, they went to the tavern for food and noticed the place was packed. Mimo listened quietly while some drunk idiots joked about the Black Dragon Knights being dead after chasing the elf princess, even mocking her by saying she was probably hiding in a kitchen making sandwiches. Mimo sarcastically played along, while another man claimed a group of dark mages called Ashinto had cursed and killed the knights. Others even believed the princess had died too, completely unaware she was sitting right there. Mist explained that Ashinto was a mysterious cult of mages who worshipped some cursed evil god. Right on cue, the tavern door opened and several hooded figures claiming to be Ashinto sorcerers walked in. They shoved people aside and demanded drinks like they owned the place. Mimo noticed they didn't actually look dangerous at all, but since the Dragon Knights had died mysteriously, they could easily claim their curses worked. Soon, he overheard two men discussing the possibility that the Forbidden Witch was responsible for the massacre. One even claimed she had been spotted nearby. Mimo immediately bought them drinks and food in exchange for information. The men happily explained that the witch was rumored to be a dark elf who disappeared 10 years ago, but someone recently claimed she was fighting in the Colosseum pits as a blood fighter. Mimo asked where to find this fighter, and they said access required permission from the Duke. Suddenly, the tavern door opened again, and a cheetah beast woman entered. The drunk men grinned and told Mimo he was lucky because that was the fighter they had mentioned. Mimo approached her and offered food and drinks. The beast woman introduced herself as Eve and asked what he wanted. Mimo got straight to the point and asked if she had seen the Forbidden Witch. Eve disappointed him by saying the story was just a rumor. She admitted she had entered the Golden Forest once where the witch supposedly lived, but never actually met her. Curious, she asked why he cared about the witch. Mimo lied that he was a scholar writing a biography about her. Eve warned him not to enter the forest unless he wanted to die within a day, then left the tavern. Afterward, Mist confidently said the beast woman was lying. Mimo agreed and decided to investigate further tomorrow. While talking about Eve, Mist explained that blood fighters only cared about money because buying freedom from their masters required huge sums. Mimo planned to learn more about her the next day. Meanwhile, Mist decided to burn calories and maintain her hourglass figure by practicing swordsmanship in armor that barely protected anything important. Mimo watched her training with admiration and realized that having a bodyguard who could both cook a sandwich and slice it perfectly with a sword was honestly a pretty good deal. He became impressed by her skills and asked if she could teach him some basic moves, and she agreed without hesitation. She then told him to stop acting like a shy toddler and attack her with everything he had. Mimo looked at her like she had just asked him to punch a kitten, wondering how a seemingly small woman could handle his strength. So Mimo charged in with full force, and instantly got folded like cheap laundry. Mimo tapped out faster than a gamer, rage quitting a ranked match, and by the time she let him go, they were both drenched in sweat. Mist suddenly remembered that clothes needed washing and rushed off with the laundry, but while scrubbing the cloak, she started sniffing Mimo's cloak like a suspicious little gremlin. Unfortunately for her, Mimo walked in right at that moment. She panicked and pretended she was just used to washing clothes, acting like nothing weird had just happened. Later that night, Mist went to sleep while Mimo sat down with his dark magic book. Sadly, the book made about as much sense to him as quantum physics would to a goldfish. He stared at the pages for a while before realizing Mist had been trying her best not to be dead weight, and he decided he would thank her in the morning. Just before heading to bed, Mist suddenly woke up and noticed he was still awake. Mimo admitted he couldn't sleep, so Mist immediately pulled out her herb bag like a medieval pharmacist. She showed him 3 herbs with different effects. The first one would make someone sleepy and relaxed, while the second would energize them. Mimo was skeptical but figured why not, so he grabbed a couple cups, tossed in some soup cubes, and poured hot water. Mist then pulled out a vial and started mixing the herbs into the drink. A moment later, she realized she had completely screwed up and poured the energizing herb instead of the relaxing one. Mimo stared at the tea, realizing this could get awkward considering they were alone in a room together with no supervision. But he reminded himself of his main objective, revenge against the goddess Vizi, which instantly shoved his brain back into mission mode. The next morning, they returned to the city to gather information, and Mist soon came back with some spicy gossip. She explained that Eve had been brought to the city as a slave 3 years ago and had shocked everyone during her very first arena fight. Since then, she had remained undefeated, and tomorrow would be her final match as a slave. Mimo frowned because that meant she already had enough money, making bribery useless. But Mist revealed another twist. Apparently, Eve had earned enough money to buy her freedom 2 years ago, yet she stayed behind for a child slave whose freedom she wanted to buy as well. She also mentioned that most fighters who reached their final match mysteriously died in those battles. According to her suspicion, the old Duke absolutely hated the idea of slaves earning their freedom, so he rigged the final fights and quietly killed them. Mimo wondered if Eve had any idea that tomorrow's fight might be a death sentence, while somewhere else, Eve calmly sharpened her blade for the upcoming battle. Mist nervously asked if Eve even had a chance to survive, but Mimo said the Duke would absolutely try to kill her and replace her with a new arena star for the crowd to worship. Mist was shocked and asked what they would do tomorrow. Mimo smirked and replied that they weren't waiting until tomorrow. They were making their move tonight. That evening, Mimo tracked Eve down in a dark alley and blocked her path. She looked confused and asked what he wanted since she had already told him she had never seen the witch. Mimo immediately called her bluff while Mist awkwardly tried to pretend she might be telling the truth. Mimo shut that nonsense down and demanded she stop lying. Eve instantly took a defensive stance and grabbed her sword, but Mimo told her to relax because they were actually trying to help. She kept her hand on the blade while Mimo revealed that the Duke planned to have her killed in tomorrow's match, which would be inconvenient since he needed her alive to find the witch. Then he bluntly suggested kidnapping the girl she was hiding and escaping the slave city tonight. Eve exploded in anger and threatened to cut their hands off if they touched the girl, but Mimo calmly told her to relax because they had no intention of harming Liz. Mist added that they knew she had been fighting all these years only to buy the little girl's freedom. Realizing these two somehow knew everything about her, Eve lowered her guard slightly but insisted she couldn't abandon tomorrow's fight. Mimo suggested taking Liz somewhere safe instead, but Eve explained that running away from the city would put bounties on their heads, and they would spend the rest of their lives being hunted by soldiers and assassins. If she were alone, she might have risked it, but with Liz, she couldn't gamble like that. Mimo insisted he could take them to the Golden Zone where the witch lived since nobody dared enter that place. Eve replied that the zone was so dangerous, even he wouldn't survive entering it. Mimo confidently promised he would protect Liz no matter what. Eve studied him carefully and glanced at Mist, noticing her martial arts experience before asking what Mimo himself was capable of. Mimo tried to downplay it and casually mentioned he could beat a skeleton king pretty easily. Eve laughed and said a skeleton king was strong, but nothing compared to the horrors inside the Golden Zone. Mimo then casually revealed that he was the one who defeated the Black Dragon Knights. Eve laughed even harder, saying a weakling like him couldn't even defeat the weakest Dragon Knight. Mimo raised his hand and instantly paralyzed her before she could draw her sword. He calmly explained that the more she struggled, the more HP she would lose. He then casually added that this ridiculous ability had allowed him to defeat the hero of humanity by himself. Mist stepped forward, removed removed her cloak and revealed that she was the elf princess the dragon knights had been chasing and had witnessed the battle personally. Mimo released Eve from the paralysis spell, and although she finally believed his strength, she still refused their help. She insisted on winning tomorrow's match legally and freeing Liz herself because she trusted her own strength more than strangers she had just met. Mimo asked if she really believed the Duke would let her walk away that easily, since the guy had a reputation for being a complete pain in the ass. Eve admitted the Duke was unethical, but still believed he wouldn't break his word openly, so she would trust her skill, win the match, and start a new life. Mimo sighed and told her that if she changed her mind, he would be waiting by the city gates until dawn. After that, he and Mist returned to the city, where a huge crowd had gathered around some dark mages who proudly announced they had slit a man's throat because he insulted their god. Mimo ignored the lunatics and continued walking. Later that night, they heard those same dark mages harassing a poor girl and trying to recruit her into their cult. When she refused, Mist immediately reached for her sword, but Mimo stopped her and instead cast Berserk on one of the mages. The idiot instantly went feral, punching and biting everyone nearby like a rabid raccoon. After midnight, they headed to the city gates. Mist asked if he truly believed Eve would show up, but Mimo said he knew the Duke was a bastard, and if Eve trusted the legal route, she would get completely screwed. Meanwhile, Eve lay awake all night thinking about the same thing. Eventually, she decided to confront the Duke directly to confirm whether Liz would truly be freed. But before entering his room, she overheard a soldier asking about tomorrow's battle. The Duke casually confirmed there would be no changes and Eve would die tomorrow. Eve froze in shock as the Duke explained he planned to poison her, so her senses would dull during the fight. He even complained about the money he had spent building a shrine for her because the audience loved her, while he personally considered her a filthy subhuman who didn't deserve to live. The soldier asked what would happen to the little girl, and the Duke casually replied he would either raise her as a future wife or simply sell her body for profit. The room filled with laughter while Eve clenched her teeth and silently walked away. Back in her cell, she finally made her decision. She grabbed a cloak and headed to the city gates where Mimo and Mist were waiting. Mimo looked surprised to see her so early, but Eve confirmed the Duke was a disgusting animal who couldn't be trusted, so she accepted Mimo's offer to run away. Mimo said he wanted something in return, and Eve agreed to reveal the witch's location and even guide them into the Golden Demon Zone. Deal made, they moved to rescue Liz. At the other side of the city, Liz the Dark Elf was cleaning tables in a tavern, while the fat owner screamed at her to work faster. The poor girl tried her best, but the brain-dead owner started hitting her for no reason until Liz collapsed on the floor laughing like a pig. Liz tried to hold back tears while remembering Eve's strength for comfort. Suddenly, the door slammed open and sent the fat woman crashing to the ground. Eve stormed in furious, drawing her sword. The fat owner instantly begged for mercy and claimed she had only been cruel because the Duke ordered it. Eve told her to tell everyone Liz had been kidnapped and that Eve had chased the kidnappers. The woman quickly agreed. At that moment, Mimo entered wearing his mask and told Eve to take Liz and leave while he checked something. Once they were gone, he approached the fat woman and calmly explained that her acting might fool Eve, but not him. Having suffered abuse himself, he recognized it instantly and wasn't letting her walk away. The woman tried bluffing that she could protect them from the Duke's wrath, but Mimo had already lost patience. He paralyzed her and followed it with poison, which somehow made her ugly face even worse as she slowly died. Mimo arranged the scene to look like a robbery before escaping through the sewer. They traveled through underground tunnels where Liz introduced herself and begged to stay with Eve. Mimo warned their journey would be dangerous, but Liz insisted she would be fine as long as she stayed with Eve. Mimo eventually agreed and even introduced them to the slime companion he carried before they exited the sewers and entered the forest. As they traveled, Eve approached Mimo and said she trusted him completely and was ready to risk her life following him. Mimo asked where that sudden trust came from. She explained he could have forced information from her or kidnapped Liz earlier, but instead, he had been honest about his motives. She asked why he wanted to meet the witch, and he explained he possessed an ancient text he believed the witch could decipher. When she asked if he intended to harm the witch, he replied he would only fight if attacked. Soon they rode on horseback while Mimo told Mist that Eve clearly had some connection to the witch, and that the witch, being a dark elf like Liz, might help their case. Suddenly, lights appeared behind them from the kingdom. Someone had already raised the alarm. Eve offered to stay behind and hold the soldiers off, but Mimo refused and said they would fight together. He split the enemy forces by sending horses running as decoys while the group hid in the bushes for an ambush. He told Eve to retreat with Liz while Mist stayed in front for the plan. Finally, Mimo picked up his mask and put it on, preparing for their last stand against the Duke's forces. The leader of the Ashinto Dark Mages immediately sensed something was wrong and halted his group, claiming the enemies were hiding in the forest. He spotted Mist behind a tree and called her out. Mist stepped forward wearing the mask of the Fly King, which made the leader laugh like a complete idiot while his men aimed arrows at her. He demanded she hand over the leopard girl and the dark elf if she wanted to live, even offering to recruit her into the Ashinto group. Mist asked what would happen if she refused. The leader proudly bragged that his dark mages had defeated the Dragon Knights and the strongest knight humanity had. According to him, a single curse had dropped them like flies before he crushed them like insects. Mist knew the entire story was nonsense since Mimo had actually killed the Dragon Knights, but she played along because the whole Ashinto squad clearly shared one brain cell. She sheathed her blade and asked him to promise he wouldn't harm Eve or Liz. The idiot agreed immediately. Mist told him to follow her into the forest, but halfway through the leader suddenly stopped and laughed, realizing the trap. He said only an idiot would lead a large group into the forest when it was easier to bring the girls out. Mist realized he had figured out the plan as he ordered his mages to keep their distance and prepare for battle. She calmly mocked them, asking if they planned to kill her with their imaginary curse. The leader only smiled as the group raised their bows and aimed straight at her. The leader smugly explained that every idiot standing behind him used to belong to the Assassin's Guild. Apparently, the heroes had crushed that guild because they called it unconstitutional, but a few cockroaches survived, and those survivors still carried knowledge of deadly poisons that could kill a person with a single drop. Mist casually replied that poison sounded like a woman's weapon anyway. The leader instantly got offended, called her sexist, and started ranting that gender was a social construct before proudly declaring he identified as a helicopter. Yes, the man had the IQ of a burnt potato. In the middle of his rambling, he accidentally exposed the truth. His group never killed the Dragon Knights at all. They had simply found their corpses lying on the ground with no clues and decided to take the credit like a bunch of budget terrorists. Anyone who tried exposing their lie mysteriously died from undetectable poison, so rumors about their imaginary curse spread everywhere. Mist then asked the obvious question of why they were doing all this. The leader casually replied they were bored with their 9-to-5 jobs and decided overthrowing the government sounded more fun. With assassination knowledge, they could kill anyone, blame it on a curse, and convince people that God supported them. Then he demanded to know where the rest of Mist's team was because he couldn't believe a weak woman who belonged in a kitchen dared face them alone. Mist rolled her eyes and replied that her ass was actually strong enough and she happened to be the lost elven princess the Dragon Knights had been hunting. The leader blinked in surprise and asked if she was the one who killed them. It was the perfect chance to scare them by taking credit, but Mist somehow fumbled the line like a bowling ball pretending to be a brain. The leader instantly mocked her and declared no woman with room temperature IQ could defeat the Dragon Knights. Then he called forward a bald warrior and revealed this guy was supposed to fight Eve in tomorrow's arena match. To make things worse, his brother stood nearby with a crossbow aimed at Mist. He even revealed their other brother Fang had died mysteriously in the forest earlier while hunting Mist, which meant Baldy now wanted revenge. Mist stood there wondering how the hell she ended up in this mess, while the mages surrounded her and ordered her to surrender if she wanted to live. She slowly dropped to her knees, secretly praying that Mimo would pull some insane trick out of nowhere, and right on cue the madman delivered. A flashbang exploded in front of the mages, blinding them, while Mimo sat comfortably on his absurd magic setup using the slime as an extension of himself and fired off paralyzed spells on the entire group. The dark mages froze in place as Mimo casually walked out of the forest like a boss character entering the arena. He told Mist not to worry because he apparently had a weakness for dummy thick idiots. Then he followed up with a nasty curse that turned their faces purple while they puked and crapped themselves on the ground. Mimo explained that the entire situation had been part of his plan. He had deliberately made them think traps were waiting in the forest, so they would get paranoid and refuse to enter it. Unfortunately, the celebration lasted about 3 seconds because the Duke's soldiers were already approaching. Mimo quickly ordered Mist to take Liz and hide in the forest while he and Eve handled the attackers. Soon the battalion charged forward, rushing Eve in a desperate attempt to kill her quickly. Instead, they stepped directly into Mimo's curse range. One paralyzed spell froze them mid-charge and a poison curse followed right after. From the opposite side, the Duke himself arrived screaming about mounting Eve's head on a spike. Mimo tried to paralyze him but realized he had already hit his daily limit, basically the magical equivalent of running out of free trial subscription. Eve took the opportunity and chopped the man's head off in one clean slash. Mimo then started spamming blindness on every knight around them, while Eve ran through the battlefield like an angry lawnmower, cutting soldiers down left and right. The remaining troops panicked and tried to run away, but Mimo told her not to let anyone escape. Eve grabbed a spear and launched it straight through a fleeing soldier, turning him into a human kebab job and making her feel like a strong, independent woman for about 2 seconds. The Duke lost his mind and even killed one of his own soldiers just to stop anyone from retreating. Eve continued stacking kills until the Duke was the only one left standing. The idiot tried to act dramatic and said they would meet again someday before turning to run. But Mimo paralyzed him mid-sentence. Eve ended the conversation permanently with one strike. After the fight, Mimo froze the corpses of the Ashinto mages and shattered them so no one would ever find the bodies. The story left behind would blame the Ashinto group for killing the Duke before fleeing. With the mess cleaned up, the group hid inside a cave to rest. Mimo randomly gave Mist a lecture for absolutely no reason and then knocked her out with magic so she could sleep on his unimpressive thighs. The next morning, he bought Liz some fresh clothes and the group continued toward the demon zone. By sunset, they reached the enchanted forest where Mimo noticed a giant dead tree with no leaves. Eve explained it was called the corrupted tree and once held powerful magic. She then pulled out her map like a walking GPS, pointing out their location and where they needed to go. Later that night, they rested by a campfire while Mimo wandered near the cliff, unable to sleep. His mind kept returning to the goddess Visai, the same insane woman who had thrown him back into a dungeon before. His hatred burned just as strong as ever. He knew the Demon Zone was one of the most dangerous places in the world, but that also meant endless experience points. Maybe he would never reach the strength of S rank or O rank heroes, but he could definitely close the gap if he kept grinding. At sunrise, they prepared to enter the deadly forest, but before leaving, they copied the strategy of cheap labor factories and handed all their luggage to the Dark Elf Kid. Mimo claimed it increased their survival odds, which sounded suspicious, but everyone rolled with it. Not long after entering the forest, a giant lizard demon appeared like Florida had teleported into their path. Mimo noticed it looked different from normal lizard monsters. The creature suddenly opened a second alien mouth full of disgusting teeth and lunged at Eve. Mimo stepped in, paralyzed the monster instantly, then poisoned it until it died. He happily confirmed that his curses still worked on monsters here, though he suspected this one was weak since some dungeon monsters he fought earlier were stronger. Liz continued carrying the bags but nearly slipped while jumping between rocks. Thankfully, the slime caught her before she face-planted into the afterlife. Later, Mist jumped across stones, got completely soaked, and started sneezing. Mimo offered his cloak, which somehow made the situation even wetter. Eve told them to get a room before suddenly stopping, as her feline instincts detected a powerful monster nearby. Mimo immediately made her act as bait while he hid behind a tree preparing a trap. Two giant bug monsters crashed through the forest chasing her and walked straight into Mimo's range. He paralyzed them instantly. As one creature died, it left behind an egg that started glowing and hatched into a bizarre blue horse running around like a lunatic. None of them had any idea what kind of demon horse it was, but since it wasn't hostile, Mimo decided to keep it. Mist discovered a strange tumor-like lump on the horse's back and wondered what it did. Mimo immediately imagined using the horse as a luggage carrier. After pumping more mana into it, the creature transformed again into a creepy 8-legged black horse that actually looked cool. Mimo kept it purely for style points while it licked Mist's face like an overexcited dog. As night fell, they made camp again, pleased with the progress thanks to their weird new mount. Mimo soon noticed strange lights deeper in the forest and eventually returned, dragging the corpse of a giant demon he had apparently killed alone. The others were shocked he defeated such a monster without waking them. Everything went to hell when a strange demon screamed after being killed. Mimo immediately realized the problem. Some demons were weak individually, but their death screams summoned entire armies. And sure enough, an enormous horde of monsters started charging toward them. Mimo's brain raced for a solution, but Eve stepped forward, offering to stay behind and hold them off so the others could escape and find the witch. Mimo instantly shut that heroic nonsense down and called her idea stupid. He claimed she was too weak to defeat the horde anyway and pulled out his mask, declaring this job required a real man. Then he explained they actually needed Eve alive because the witch trusted her, not them. He ordered everyone else to escape through nearby caves, while he stayed behind with the horse and slime, since they had the best survival chances. Soon, monsters flooded the battlefield and Mimo unleashed hell, using the slime to cast berserk on the front lines. Unfortunately, stronger monsters were still closing in. He realized the only way to recover mana was killing stronger targets in the middle of the horde, so he charged straight toward them, riding the mutated horse while crushing monsters beneath its hooves and blasting blindness spells everywhere. He spammed berserk repeatedly, carving a path toward the biggest demons while watching his mana drop dangerously fast. Eventually, he isolated two giant monsters by putting the smaller ones to sleep. The battle dragged on until one final demon fell and Mimo suddenly leveled up. his paralyzed skill upgraded and a new ability unlocked, though he was too exhausted to check it immediately. Far away, Eve reflected on how Mimo had survived horrible abuse in his childhood, yet refused to break down. If he had been a normal person, he probably would have collapsed long ago. Later that night, Mist tried making conversation and asked his age. Mimo revealed he was only 17, which shocked her since she was 19, and had assumed he was older because of his calm attitude. She insisted that regardless of age, he would always remain the master she served. Eventually, Mimo felt something soft on his lips and noticed Mist acting suspiciously. Realizing she had kissed him thinking he was asleep, he awkwardly knocked her out with magic because he had zero interest in starting a romance arc before finishing his revenge. Eventually, the group reached a massive underground door that opened when mana was poured into a crystal. Once activated, it revealed a breathtaking underground grassland filled with flowers, gentle wind, and even a fake sky above them. At the far end stood a mansion carved directly from the stone, the hidden home of the mysterious witch they had been searching for. After all that chaos, power flexing, and characters making decisions that probably reduced their brain cells to single digits, the story actually stayed till this point. Congratulations. You're not just watching recaps anymore. You're officially part of the elite squad that enjoys watching absolute madness unfold. Now, let's expose the fake fans again. Comment "Chaos approved" if you already knew things were about to spiral out of control the moment that moment happened. And, of course, smash like, subscribe, and let the algorithm know it just encountered viewers with dangerously good taste.